SPYXFAMILY is a fantastic anime. Alright, see y'all next time. Why are you still here? Oh, I get it. You want me to use big and fancy adjectives to describe why I like this show and why I think it's fantastic. Alright. What, y'all don't think that I can do this? Alright, I'll see you there. SPYXFAMILY is an immaculate piece of Japanese media that blends the exhilarating action and mystery of a spy show with a heartfelt family dynamic, and you can't forget the adorableness of this first grader going to school. It has great script work with subtle character growth and fantastic storytelling that keeps the viewer engaged in the plot while also balancing the absurd humor. SPYXFAMILY is like a 4-course meal. You got the meat, the sides, a little bit of fruit or veggies as well, with your refreshing beverage, and everything fits so well together that for a while you're just in pure bliss. It has so much of everything you need and is able to blend all its elements together smoothly. I get a lot of people would typically write off a popular seasonal anime because they assume it'll just be forgotten in a few months anyway, or something else just as good if not better will come out the very next season, but I don't believe that'll be the case with SPYXFAMILY. Well, obviously something is gonna come out that takes over the popularity that SPYXFAMILY had, the same with Dress Up Darling before it, but I don't think we're gonna look back at SPYXFAMILY as just a popular seasonal anime, if you get what I mean. So that's what I meant by that. I wanted to add this part in just so I can avoid any confusion. I've said this before and it's bit me in the back quite a few times, but I mean it when I say this may very well be my favorite anime of the year. And if you give me your attention and about 20 or so minutes of your time, I can explain why I'm so high on this show. The story of SPYXFAMILY is pretty simple. A spy named Twilight has to try and get buddy-buddy with this corrupt politician named Donovan Desmond in order to prevent a war between two very large neighboring countries that Donovan is actively instigating. Donovan, however, doesn't go out much and only really goes public at his son's school, Eden Academy, one of the most prestigious schools in the world. Eden hosts parties meant for the top students in the class, and parents usually accompany their children. So Twilight dons the name Loid, which is what I'm calling him from now on. And he has to adopt a child, get that child into the school, which is already pretty tough, have the child become a top student so he can eventually meet Donovan and prevent him from starting a war, all while making sure his pretend family doesn't find out he's a spy. To make this relatively simple plot a little spicier,
give your meat a good old rub.
The child he adopts just so happens to be an Esper. But wait, it doesn't stop there, because the girl who he marries because a child needs two parents, the wife just so happens to be an assassin. And all three cannot let the others find out about their special abilities. This very over-the-top, outrageous premise is oddly unique for an action comedy, and it leads to a lot of ridiculously funny scenes, like a marriage proposal using a grenade, that kind of thing. SPYXFAMILY mixes its comedy with action and even slight hints of romance between Loid and Yuri almost perfectly, and it creates an atmosphere that can be enjoyed by a large variety of people. One moment you'll be watching an adorable family, the next you're watching a well-executed spy series. Then all of a sudden you're thrown in an off-the-wall comedy. Yet it never feels like it's too much or hard to follow. The main message of the show is that everybody has secrets, something that they can never tell anyone, even their families. A good message that is most certainly true, but that message is also humorous because the secrets of the main cast are so insane. Another thing I enjoyed about the writing in this show is how they tell the characters' backstories. It doesn't tell the whole story, allowing the viewer to infer what happened without actually showing you what happened. Like Anya hating studying because it's assumed she was forced to in the past, or Loid hating kids crying because it reminds him of his childhood. It shows enough of what happened so we can infer why the characters act the way they do, but still not show the viewer the entire story. This method adds a sense of mystery because we don't know the full details, but we know enough so that we can get why they react the way they do. The only anime that comes to mind that does this is Cowboy Bebop with Spike's backstory, and that just made me want to find out even more. What actually happened to this character, and why is it his main motivation? And I see a lot of that with Loid. Speaking of Loid, Loid is the best spy in the world. He's known to make the impossible possible. There's nothing in the world he can't do. But the one mission he considers his hardest is parenting, for the simple reason of he can't understand children and their emotions. Since he threw away emotions a long time ago, it's shown that he doesn't really understand, nor does he really care about someone else's feelings. He only cares about his mission. When you aren't relevant to the success of his mission, he doesn't really care about you. As shown in the very first scene he's in, when he just straight up rejected this bitch when she was thinking about marrying him. So seeing someone like that try very desperately to be a father and a husband is very comical. And it's shown that he does seem to grow more emotional over time. I also think it's funny that this very serious character gets anxious so easily over his mission. Another reason he views this as his most difficult mission is that he has to put his trust in others. As a spy, he mostly did his own thing, but for this mission specifically, Yuri and Anya have to play their parts. And he just doesn't trust them enough to do that, especially since they don't know the full details of the mission. I mean, I can't blame him. His daughter essentially cheats her way through life by reading minds, and his wife has murderous tendencies, to put it lightly. What makes his character even more interesting is that his main motivation for being a spy comes from a very vulnerable place. What I found so interesting about it was the emotional motivation for this rather unemotional character. We still don't exactly know the circumstances of his past self situation, but showing me that little bit makes me want to find out more. And Loid is not the only character I want to find out more about. So, I see y'all like Anya, huh? I can't blame y'all for spreading this girl all over the place like a bunch of rats spreading the plague. So Anya is the adopted daughter of Loid. She likes peanuts, she does not like carrots, and as you all know, she can read minds. Oddly enough, she's probably the character with the most mystery surrounding her. We know she was a test subject and was probably forced to study and do a variety of testings, hence why she hates it so much. But besides that, we don't know a lot about Anya. What I do like about Anya is that she's realistically childlike. Anya is 6 years old, so she doesn't really act or think using logic. She just wants stuff because it looks exciting or she thinks it's cool, which is why she wanted Yuri as a mother, because being a child of a spy and an assassin just seemed really cool to her. There's no other reason than that because she's 6 years old. Does she really need another reason? Despite acting her age for the most part, Anya is a cunning little kid. She's able to use her powers to her and her family's advantage. Like when Loid was about to leave her to avoid getting a child in such a dangerous mission. She tells him she knew that would win him over because she read his mind and learned his motivation was to create a world where kids don't cry. She also learns that she can use her power to save lives and help other people, but she's also learning the downsides of her power, like when she's taking in too much negative information during the political speech. It actually has a physical effect on her. Anya may not be book smart and she does over-rely on her power, but being able to slowly understand an ability, especially a complex one like mind reading, and using it in ways that benefit her is intelligence to me. Plus, if I was 6 years old with the power to read minds, I'd probably over-rely on it too. I feel like we'll get to a point where Anya doesn't over-rely on her power, perhaps when she's older. We still don't even know the full details of her power. But I enjoy learning along with the characters and being a part of their growth, and this series features a ton of that. With Anya, she grows as a character and begins to use her powers to help Loid, but she still keeps the innocence, curiosity, and selfishness of an actual child. Yuri is probably the easiest to talk about in the main family. Much like Loid is obsessed with being a spy, Yuri seems to be obsessed with being an assassin. To the point, it's all she knows how to do. Hell, apparently it's all she ever did. Her main priority is her younger brother Yuri. She became an assassin to take care of him after their parents died. More on him later. This kind of character being thrust into playing a mother and a wife is funny, much like Loid. Now, despite being a pretend mother and wife, it seems Yuri gets self-conscious about her skills as those things. In the society the anime is in, women have a certain standard to live up to, but Yuri only knows how to clean because she's so used to cleaning up blood and bodies from her job. She can only keep things neat and tidy, but that's all she can do, so she doesn't meet many of the qualifications society puts on a woman in her family. So when she learns about Anya potentially favoring her, in quotations, other mother, even though it's very likely Yuri misunderstood what Anya was actually crying about in this scene, it motivates Yuri to be the very best mother, but she's still self-aware of just how far away she is from the ideal mother. It takes Loid to convince her to just be herself, that Anya loves her as her mother even if she isn't perfect. I'd imagine this is a weird issue a lot of mothers go through, especially back whenever the anime takes place, when standards were different and everyone strived to be this goddess of a mother. This not only furthers Yuri's character but also Loid's, because this is the very moment his emotions begin to enter the mission, exactly what Frankie told him not to allow to happen. I found Yuri to be pretty cute in her attempts to be a good mom, and her scenes with Anya were some of my favorites. She's very protective of her daughter and is usually a kind girl. So let's briefly talk about the other characters I found enjoyable. This series features a lot of side characters, all somewhat important and affect the mission in their own ways. Let's start with a favorite of mine, Damian. Damian is the son of Donovan, the main bad guy, and Anya has to be friends with him since the chances of developing Anya to be an A+ student are very slim. If she's friends with Damian, the parents would likely have to meet as well. However, Damian is a dick, and Anya hates him. Damian does bully Anya, but it seems he's hiding his true feelings for Anya. If you think about it, nobody has probably ever treated Damian the way Anya treats him, and that's led to Damian developing feelings for Anya. It also has to do with the fact that Anya is just adorable, but he isn't aware of how to react to it yet, and tries to get rid of the feeling, but it just doesn't stop. He's trying to convince himself that he doesn't like her by repeatedly insulting her in his head, which makes Anya think he really does hate her. He gets anxious around Anya. He's never felt that way before. And seeing a character that views himself as this great being be so vulnerable and confused as to how he could be feeling this way was entertaining. The scenes with the kids in school were probably my favorites. They're adorable but also comedic. It's all just one giant misunderstanding plot, even when Loid gets involved, cause he misunderstands the situation too. He thinks his mission is in jeopardy because these kids hate their guts. It's also referenced that Damian's family seems to be neglecting him, and that could lead to him feeling envious of Anya's and other less prestigious kids' families. Just a subtle little detail I noticed. It's obvious to me that this bratty witch kid is all just a persona, and deep down he's just a normal kid who wants to be loved by his family. I was actually surprised we got to see Yuri. I thought they'd wait till the second part, but we do get an episode where we see him. As previously stated, Yuri is Yuri's younger brother. He presents himself as a nice, hard-working kid, but of course, he has a secret. And that secret is that he works for the secret police, and his job is to hunt down the spy known as Twilight because the police view spies as criminals trying to disturb the peaceful times the world is currently in. He keeps his job secret to Yuri to make sure she doesn't worry. It's the exact same reason Yuri is hiding the fact she's an assassin to him. Yuri does have a dark side and does some pretty brutal stuff to people. Like, Jesus Christ, is everyone in this family a goddamn psychopath? His main motivation is his sister. He does everything for her. This man is in love with his sister. We're talking full-on cis-con kind of love, which I thought was pretty hilarious. Just seeing this guy freak out when his innocent and pure sister almost kisses another guy in front of him was great. Especially a guy he's jealous of. Naturally, he doesn't accept the marriage because he doesn't want another man with Yuri, so he's highly suspicious of Loid and thinks he's a spy, but he has no evidence to prove it. I think he and Damian are two very interesting and amusing add-ons to the series. Something I love about the cast is that each are flawed people in some way. Loid and Yuri are both the very best at what they do, but they aren't perfect protagonists either. They have no idea what to do with Anya. Loid can be too forceful at times, and Yuri is just not confident enough in her abilities as a mother. And this leads to pretty simple mistakes in parenting. Mistakes that they can learn and grow from. The parents aren't perfect from the beginning, and it makes sense because their jobs are the only thing they know how to do. They're only together for convenience because they both just happen to need a significant other at the time. So of course they have no idea what to do with Anya. They never expected to have a child. So obviously they're gonna struggle at the beginning. Even at the end of the series they make mistakes. Mistakes that make them feel human. Even Anya, who could have gotten away with just being a cute kid, acts her age. She's stubborn, her curiosity gets her in trouble, and she can act like a brat at times. But she still learns. She wants to help catch bad guys, and she wants the mission to succeed, not because she understands the conflicts of war, but because she wants to stay together with her family, just like any child would. These characters feel very real despite their supernatural backstories and abilities. Even a side character like Damian, you can imagine being a witch kid and being sucked up to 24/7 would make you a bit of a cunt. That's why he falls for the one person who treated him like a regular person. He just doesn't understand it because he's 6. Of course he doesn't understand it. Especially the different social standings between him and Anya. Why would he fall in love with a peasant, he thinks. It's a goofy comedy at the end of the day, but I have to appreciate the character writing so far. It's a likable cast that is enjoyable to watch grow. It's fun seeing Loid and Yuri progress as parents. It's fun seeing Anya use her power more conveniently. The character dynamic is really good and adds to the comedy. Whether it's the usual flawless Loid getting so worried about Anya he watches her in order to make sure nothing goes wrong, or when Anya gets spooked or excited when she's reading her parents' mind. Even Anya mimicking the way Loid thinks at times. A character can add to the comedy to create a lot of really funny punchlines. And I prefer this way more than them just being overpowered or perfect from the start. The action scenes are well directed. The mix of first-person views and fast-paced action during the spy scenes with Loid were amazingly done. It just flows so well and seems so effortless. There were also some slower action scenes where Yuri's about to fuck someone up, which looks great every time. A lot of the spy scenes seemed pretty real, like Loid using flour in the warehouse to make sure the bad guys couldn't fire the gun because that would cause an explosion. The flour also allows them to sneak attack, which fits a spy better than open hand-to-hand combat. Even though he's capable of it, the next episode literally shows that, it seems he's not as much of a fan of that style of fighting, since it was a bit of a sloppy job on his part. Who knows what would have happened if Yuri wasn't there? Again, the realism of this show, regardless of the witty, unrealistic premise, is incredible. Even when the action does get goofy, it still works because this is a comedy, and the show is meant to make you laugh. But it can still take itself seriously. I mean, look at episode 5 as an example. That was essentially a filler episode that didn't progress the story much at all. But it's a personal favorite of mine because of how fun it is. The animation in the non-action scenes is solid too. You add some small visual gags like the cows stepping back from Yuri, or Loid actually getting into the cartoon Anya likes. At times, the show takes a show don't tell approach. It shows us Loid is a master of disguise. Let's start with the background art. I like the setting. I think they pulled off an old European city almost perfectly. It's a nice change of pace from the usual Japanese setting, and the colorful tall buildings and locations fit the show's humor greatly. The character designs are very memorable. I mean, Anya is probably going to be a most popular lolly with the likes of Kana, Wenge, and Megumin from now on. And a lot of that has to do with her look. I'm not sure exactly what those cones on her head are, but for some odd reason they add to her look. Even side characters like Becky or the headmaster aren't forgettable from an art standpoint. And my god, I'm talking about 2 anime back to back that have some great looking fashion. I'm here for it. Each suit and dress look very nice and are appropriate for the setting they're in. Also, a small thing, but the show is very memeable. Like the facial expressions just add so much to the humor. I can't count the number of times I giggled when Anya made this face. Like, this is supposed to be her smirking. I just love it. There are also the faces Anya makes whenever she reads Yuri's mind. And the faces Loid makes whenever he's tired or worried about the mission was so different from how he usually acts that it's funny. The faces remind me of what Konosuba or Kaguya-sama typically do, which are 2 shows I enjoy an unhealthy amount, by the way. Just saying, there are similarities between all the shows I like. The usage of jazz for the background music is ideal for a spy show. It can be used for the action scenes and the scenes where Loid is finding out what his mission is. It really gets you in the mood, you know? Jazz and blues really is the perfect genre for background music. That's why I use it. The rock music in the amusement park scene was fantastic. It works because it is an intense action scene, but it also contrasts the context and setting of the scene so much that it's funny. It works both ways. Also, neat little facts about the OP that I actually didn't notice until I saw this tweet, so credit to Namaru for finding this. But the song refers to the family as the peanuts in a bag of mixed nuts, and how the forgers are the peanuts that are hiding secrets, pretending to be real nuts, aka a real family. This is why she likes peanuts, because Anya finds secrets and people with secrets exciting. That blew my mind when I first saw it. Anyway, back to the actual OP. The jazzy and fast-paced instrumental works for the overall sound of the show. I also loved the drawings and the colors. The transitions are smooth, and to compliment the translators for a second, the way they made the English words blend in with the OP was amazing. Sadly, it stopped after episode 8, but more translators should do that. The final bit of music is the ending, which I also enjoyed. A lot more relaxing and chill compared to the OP. The transitions are also really good in this one, and I loved the way it began to use colors when the beat picked up a little bit. It's just a really beautiful ending. Anya's voice actress, Atsumi Tanezaki. Let's talk about her, because her vocal range is wild. To let you guys get an idea of just how large her range is, she also voices Vivi, who sounds like this.
私の使命は歌でみんなを幸せにすることで、そのために心を込めて歌えるようになって。
Aricia, who sounds like this.
あんたに会いたかったから。だから嬉しかったけどな。花島、トールに彼氏ができたら初デートは絶対邪魔しに行くぞ。もちあた。
And somehow this girl can also sound like the most adorable 6-year-old in the world. How? I don't freaking know, but it's crazy to me. Hell, Anya is less developed, so she actually sounds more like a 4-year-old, which is even crazier. Her performance as Anya was fantastic. Her voice perfectly matched, and her delivery as a child was well done. Can't express how much I loved her performance anymore. I talked about Anya, but really every character has a wide range of voices. Loid goes from an emotionless spy to a hopeless, anxiety-filled parent in a single episode. Takuya Iguchi's voice just fits like a glove for the kind of character Loid is. And Saori Hayame did a great job balancing Yuri's crazy but cute and clumsy self, going perfectly from protective mom to a ditz to a murderer almost effortlessly. Kinda funny how the voice actor who voiced Hiki and the voice actress who voiced Yukino got to be together again as lovers. Maybe that's why the relationship just feels so natural to me, because the chemistry is already there. Yuri's performance during his episode was good. The cast is stacked, so I can't talk about everyone in detail, but everyone did a pretty great job. Each voice fit and was comedic in their own ways. One quick shout out to the elegant performance from Kazuhiro Yamaji though. A very unforgettable performance for a character that really didn't show up all that much, sadly. SPYXFAMILY is funny. SPYXFAMILY can be emotionally engaging. SPYXFAMILY can be heartwarming. SPYXFAMILY can be thrilling. SPYXFAMILY is everything I love in an anime. I compared it to a 4-course meal earlier, and I think that's the best comparison for a show like this. The storytelling is fascinating, each episode feels unique and different from the previous. It's the kind of thing that's easy to watch, but still captivating. The family dynamic feels genuine, even though they're total strangers, it feels like a normal family. Loid and Yuri are together for convenience, but they're perfect together because they're the only ones that can truly accept and understand each other. It's a family of weirdos trying their hardest to be normal, but still hide the facts they're weirdos to each other. It can be an over-the-top comedy, but it can also be funny visually and subliminally. There isn't a lot of exposition and allows the viewer to infer and think for themselves on why certain characters are the way they are. The action can be thrilling with car chases and hand-to-hand action, but it also has stealth missions and psychological warfare. To be honest, I wanted to do a 3 random anime segment on this show instead and wait for part 2 to finish and then make a review on the entire series as a whole, but there's just too much to like about this first call. A simple 1/3 of a video doesn't do this anime justice. It's a phenomenal show and I can't wait to see how it progresses.